Hello everyone, thank you for watching the NeoLive webinar. This is Songping from NGD marketing team. For some of you who are not familiar with NeoLive, this is a series of solo talks, panel discussions in which we invite NGD core members, eco-project leaders, industry experts to share the latest technological knowledge, project development, and industry insights with the communities. Our guest today is John Davidos, head of NGD Seattle. As you may notice, we recently released the Preview 2 of Neo3. It has been 6 months since the last release of Preview 1. What should we expect for the new version? John actually prepared a lot to share today. John, thank you for participating and feel free to start.
Good day to folks on the session. Thank you for giving us your time. It is my privilege to discuss with you the Preview 2 release of our Neo3 platform. My name is John Davidos, as Sung Ping said. I lead up NGD in Seattle. Spent many years at Microsoft, a very long time. Worked on the architecture of .NET V1, shipped .NET frameworks, tools, a variety of developer and enterprise assets during my time over there. Again, so over the next half an hour or so, I will give you a quick update in terms of what we see as key features that we are very proud to share and to discuss with you as developers and as users of Neo. So I figured I'd make this easy to consume. And I'm a very big fan of doing, 5 things or 8 things or 7 things. In this particular case, 8 is a good number. 8 is easy to remember. So I picked 8 things for you with respect to the developer experience, what we are doing to accelerate the developer productivity, the developer tooling, and obviously the developer experience encompassing all of this together. Before I do that, I want to pause just for a couple of minutes and recap. As you know, last year, Eric shared with you our roadmap with respect to how we plan to ship Neo3. And I want to emphasize 3 things from his original Medium write-up that I think is good to know. It's been a few months since he published, and I figure it's good for us to again recap why we are doing this, what we are doing, and how we expect to get there. So firstly, our vision very consistently, as Eric expressed with Neo3, is to support large-scale commercial applications using our blockchain capabilities. To do so, we are focusing on very high throughput, enhanced stability and security, a highly optimized smart contract subsystem, as well as a very rich set of features of infrastructure capabilities to enable you as a developer to build a very broad, very diverse set of business application use cases. Of course, underpinning all of this is a very active collaboration that we have with experts from academia, industry, and of course, our own community on a variety of mechanisms with respect to governance. For us, the economic model and governance mechanisms go very much hand in hand. And so you will see, as you've observed from Preview 1, in Preview 2 and beyond, as we get to the final release of Neo3, a very strong focus here, and certainly innovation with respect to how we apply the economic model as well as governance. So before jumping in, it's been a couple of months since we shipped Preview 1. I want to highlight from my perspective what I see, what I saw at that time and what I see today as key highlights with respect to the work that Eric has been leading and the team we have been working obviously since. So firstly, the architecture itself. There was significant work on optimizing the architecture in the Preview 1 release, a few changes. Certainly the contract-based account model, the single transaction type, and of course, one of my favorites, native contracts. Secondly, in terms of stability, significant piece of innovation from the team, which was to upgrade the DBFT protocol with a new recovery mechanism, which will greatly improve the stability of our consensus algorithm for the long term. And again, for me, this is certainly a key feature, and I know the team is certainly very proud of the innovative and the deep work that went in terms of research as well as engineering. Next up, in terms of performance, we put a lot of focus, and we still do, with respect to Preview2, and of course the final release, where in terms of, for example, the auto compression on the P2P messages, which enables us to save significantly in terms of space, as also bandwidth, and most certainly we see this increasing TPS as well in the long run. And last but not the least, for me, one of the key things that Eric and the team have been doing with respect to Neo3 is really to innovate in terms of the economic model. And certainly for us, pricing is a very key part of this. So again, in terms of Preview1, being able to decrease the opcode fee significantly, as well as to update the network and the system fees, are features that, for me, are key highlights in terms of Preview1. So I gave you a quick recap of the key pillars in terms of the Neo3 roadmap. And also in this slide, I shared with you some of the highlights. And again, to be fair, to do justice to all the Preview1 features would take a separate session. And of course, this session really is about Preview2. So I'm giving you a very compressed view, obviously, in this slide. So let's dive in. In terms of the 8 things to know. So firstly, for me, as you come in from a developer experience perspective, the core, Neo Core and the Neo VM have significant updates, which bode well in terms of performance. We have been seeing sometimes, of the order of 16 times superior performance as a result of the work both in the VM as well as core. And of course, for me, another key feature as an architect is the decoupling of the Neo VM from the chain. We have a significantly more modular design, which brings, again, much more scalable protocol at the core of the Neo3 chain and the platform itself. So to summarize, significant improvements, optimizations, and certainly driving stability, scalability, and performance as a result of these changes. That's number 8. Moving on. Number 7. So if you dwell into the Neo VM design, you will see a significant portfolio of work has gone in here. For example, the opcodes themselves have been redesigned to streamline the instructions. As a developer, this is a non-trivial amount of work that Eric and the team have put together, and something, again, the team is very proud of. Additional capabilities like the new object reference counters to manage the recycling and the usage. Secondly, in terms of the VM, the team has put in a lot of work to enhance the support for compilers. For instance, we have additionally variable slots. We have support for local variables, global variables, and such. And again, this being a summary session, I will not give you the full litany list, but take it from me. Significantly enhanced support for compilers in the design of the VM itself. And last but not the least, as we discussed earlier, the decoupling. The decoupling of the VM from the chain infrastructure and being able to enable a much more modular, loosely coupled, and certainly much more stable and performant design overall for the platform. That's number 1. And so number 7, Neo VM design. Next one, I want to just spend a little bit of time in terms of the smart contract development. We, the team, has put in a lot of work, a lot of emphasis to improve the smart contract developer experience to enable contracts to traverse the iterators, new exception control instructions. And again, you will see more of this in the eventual final release. But take it from me, a lot of work went behind the scenes with respect to enabling superior developer experience to build smart contracts. That's number 6 for you. Number 5, this is actually could be a fairly long slide. I want to give you kind of a bird's eye view of the enhancements with respect to performance. I picked a few things in this slide again. Otherwise this particular slide itself could be the whole session. As we discussed earlier, we have redesigned the opcodes, simplified the instruction sets. We have obviously added things like reference counting for managing resources, which you as a developer know is a significant step in the right direction with respect to performance. We have worked to improve the TPS, and obviously, how do we do this? By things like optimizing the way we do the transaction validation. Also, very interestingly, we believe that with the work on the parallel verification of signatures, we could significantly increase TPS, maybe even up to 8x, if not more, from the Preview 1. And last but not the least, again, like I said, with respect to performance, enhanced the protocol for communication, new compression mechanisms, new index synchronization, and so on and so forth. But take it from me, a significant set of additional improvements which take the performance of the chain, both code and VM, to a whole new level in this release. Next up, in terms of smart contracts, earlier I discussed the work from the developer experience. This slide, I call out the work in terms of optimizing smart contracts. So firstly, and this is to me very interesting, the permission control at both the contract level as well as the manifest level to set permissions to call the methods to prevent tampering and also to prevent, obviously, unauthorized contract usage and consumption as well. So this, in the sense of optimizing smart contracts, is personally one of my favorite features in this particular preview release, and I hope you will have a chance to go play with it as well and give us your feedback. Next up, we have done some good work in terms of the contract ID. So this is a global unique identifier. And of the key implication here is that data migration is no longer required during, obviously, updating contracts. And again, as a developer, this is a very big deal. This certainly is something that's going to save you time, productivity, and also make your life a little bit more easier as you are developing, testing, debugging, and deploying smart contracts. And last but not the least, with respect to the optimization, we have done some good work. The team, Eric and the team, have done some good work to expand the functionality with methods supporting JSON parsing, gap balance, address conversion, and so on. So again, a very long list of things here with respect to optimizing smart contracts. I hope you will take this summary, and this will motivate you to go dig deeper into the bits for Preview 2. Next up, a topic very close to my heart, the economic model. Again, we could probably spend this entire session discussing the economic model. Just call out a couple of things for you. So in Preview 2, when we store contracts, only the incremental bytes are being charged. Again, as you realize, this will go a long way in decreasing the costs for smart contract. And also a couple other things like, for example, keeping decimals for system fees, which we will burn directly. There is more coming. If you recollect earlier, I said we see the governance model and the economic model as being very, very tightly linked together. This slide is a focus on the economics. You will hear more from us with respect to the governance. And by the way, on GitHub, if you're tracking along, you will see a very robust discussion the team has been having with respect to options and certainly the diverse set of choices for the governance model as we work on the eventual final release for Neo3. Next up, again, a topic very close to my heart as an architect, being able to design a modular system, loosely coupled, being able to provide for evolution, for enhancement, a much more stable and a much more scalable architecture. In this particular preview release, a couple of things. Firstly, we have decoupled the storage layer, and we support a variety of abstractions for storage, including level DB, RocksDB, obviously memory itself, and so on. I hope as developers, you will have a chance to, again, play with the bits, and maybe it will motivate you to also integrate some other storage mechanisms, abstractions that might fit certainly your particular scenario more effectively. We've also decoupled the RPC module, and we have support now for user-defined modules. Again, something we have been using here in NGD Seattle as we are building out the Neo toolkit for .NET, as well as Neo Express. We found the decoupling of the RPC module particularly interesting, and certainly very viable to us as we build out the private net and the tooling behind the private net. Next up, something very interesting. So we've been making a variety of design changes to enable the design and the development of light nodes. So for example, we're constraining and limiting the height of transactions and blocks that are accessible to smart contracts. This will obviously go a long way. As developers, I'm sure you can imagine a wide variety of use cases, of scenarios for the light node. Again, one of my personal favorites in terms of the work the team has been doing with respect to Neo3 Preview2. This bodes very well for us longer term as we eventually get to the implementation of light nodes and their own optimization as well. So this was 8 things I want to just quickly walk you through. And I want to also remind you, the 8 things I picked for you in this particular session are but a summary. And there is much more innovative, much more scalable, and certainly much more performant features in the Preview 2 release. So if I could summarize, I would say, Neo Core and Neo VM significantly enhanced performance. And again, like we said, a data point, many, if not most instructions are about 16x faster than the previous set of bits you have, which is a very big deal, right? As developers and as users, as a significantly, set of architectural improvements. Second, the decoupling of the VM, the stability, the scalability, and certainly the resulting performance changes as a result of being able to decouple. And last but not the least, the flexible and very powerful Neo3 smart contract system, which as developers, and again, from a developer experience, is going to be obviously the place where you spend a lot of time using the tools, using the libraries and frameworks. So with that, if I could summarize, I would say, please go download the bits, please play with the bits, give us your feedback, please obviously on GitHub, as well as Reddit. I know the team and I will be on Reddit, so if you have questions, if you want to ask clarifications, and of course, if you have feedback for us in terms of Preview 2 that you would like to see in the final version, please do share as well. So I look forward to seeing you on Reddit as well as GitHub. And of course, let's go rock and roll as we get to the final Neo3 release. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, John, for sharing today. Thank you
very
guys
much,
for watching.